Welcome back to Critically Incorrect, your weekly gaming podcast. I'm your host, Onliner Brandon, here today with Charlie, as usual, if you want to say hi.
Hello.
Of course, as this is the very beginning of the episode, I just want to remind you if you have any topic suggestions, feedback, of course, for the podcast, anything of the sort, leave that, of course, in the comment section down below, or click the link to make our way to our Discord server. But yeah, with that being said, I guess I just wanted to address last week. We didn't have an episode out, just really time commitments. It just didn't work out last week, so we decided to skip instead of rushing one in. Just save it for this week. So hopefully you forgive us for that. Of course, I want to remind you to follow me on Twitter. Me and Charlie will usually update you there, besides the Discord server that we have for this podcast. With that being said, Charlie, as we always start off this podcast with, what have you been playing for the last 2 weeks now?
Yeah. So there's been a few bits here and there. I guess I'll start with obviously last week. So Alan Wake Remastered came out, so I've been playing a decent amount of that. I want to say sort of 6 hours, maybe 6, 7 hours. I think I'm on episode 5. There's 6 episodes in the main game, and then there's two DLC ones. So I'm pretty much near the end. I have played the game many times over, so at this point, I know most of the game off the back of my hand. But I've been really enjoying playing it again. It has some cool stuff on PlayStation. It does use the triggers and stuff, which is pretty cool. And obviously, it looks a little bit better than the original. It's not mind blowing. It is more of a port than most remasters. There's not a ton of work that's been done to it, sadly. I think the main thing I would have loved to see was some ray tracing in there, but they don't seem to have done anything crazy with the lighting. I think the biggest overhaul seems to be with the cutscenes. They've done a lot to the models and animations. They look a lot better than they did. The problem with the original is it had a weird thing like LA Noir did, where they tried to do all these weird face techniques, and at the time they looked pretty good, but they don't really hold up now. So they've basically gone back and redid a lot of that, and they changed Alan's model and a few other characters just to make them look a bit more like the actors who played them and stuff. So that's kind of the main change they've made there. I'd really recommend it if you haven't played Alan Wake. It's obviously the best way to play it now, and it's obviously the first time you can play it on PlayStation. So I definitely recommend it. If you've played it before though, it's probably not worth it unless, like me, you're a really big fan. In which case, you've probably already bought it anyway. Aside from that, last week I did play a decent chunk of VR because, like I said on the last podcast, I did get a Quest 2. So I've started up Phantom Covert Ops, which is one that I actually got a code for months ago from Endreams, and I just haven't had a chance to play it. So I started that up. That's been pretty fun. There doesn't seem to be a ton of depth to it, but it's a fun little shooter type game. And then also a game called Swarm VR, which is kind of like a Spider-Man type thing. You have dual grapple hooks, kind of like in Windlands. But you're basically, it's all full 360, so it works really well on Quest. You can fully move around and stuff, and you're basically swinging in these arenas, taking out enemies and stuff. Kind of in a bullet hell type shooter. It's really fun. I can imagine it's very nauseating if you're new to VR, but it's been quite a bit of fun. That one I think is coming to PC VR at some point, but it's still only on Quest right now. So those are the two main things I played on there. Obviously the Battlefield beta as well, which I guess I can talk about here. I enjoyed the beta. Performance wasn't ideal, and there were a few bugs here and there, but overall, I'm really enjoying Battlefield. It just feels like more Battlefield. It feels like a good mix of Battlefield 4 with COD Modern Warfare. It feels pretty good. There's some tweaking that needs to be done here and there, and like I said, performance. But I would imagine a lot of that will get ironed out before launch. But it's Battlefield, so I'm sure there'll still be plenty of issues on launch day. But I'm still very much looking forward to that game. And yeah, the beta could have been better, but it was still enjoyable, at least on PC. I know on console it was a bit of a mess. So yeah, hopefully that all gets fixed by launch. Other than that, we did so at where I work, we got a copy of Far Cry 6 in, so I've played a little bit of it. But I probably won't be playing the whole game. I just wanted to try it out, so I've played a little bit there, which seems pretty cool. But it's just more Far Cry, so I'm definitely not going to be I'm not dying to pick that up or anything. Um, I think that was mainly it for last week. This week, my main game has been Back for Blood, which Brandon, I know you haven't played a ton of yet. I think according to Xbox, I've played like 6.5 hours. So I've done the first act, which is basically all what was in the beta. There's a few extra levels here and there, but mostly the same. And then I just beat Act 2 this evening, so I've played roughly sort of 3/5, like half the game, just over half. There's 4 acts, but the fourth act is literally one level, so
Yeah.
I don't imagine that's very long. Yeah, there's 3 acts, and then the fourth act is just one dot on the like timeline, so I imagine it's just one boss fight. Would be my guess. But I'm enjoying it as much as I did in the beta and alpha. Really, I was a little bit kind of bored during the when I was playing the first act, but I want to say that's just because I played the alpha and beta so much. I think I've probably played about 20 hours of just that first act in those in the beta and alpha. So I've already played a decent chunk of that content. So I was kind of just pushing onwards to get past it. There is like a level or two in the middle, which was really fun that they did leave out. Although I will say I don't know why there isn't like a streamer warning or anything, because there is a level in Act 1 which is full of licensed music. So I imagine tons of streamers are gonna get like taken down this week because of that. But no, I am really enjoying Back for Blood. There is a few things that I wish they would change about it. The way you kind of unlock cosmetics and things is kind of a mess. There's no real way of knowing how to unlock them, and there's not that many at all. And even some of like the achievements and things, the like requirements for them are really dumb. Like playing 250 levels as a character to get their main skin, which is insane because I think there's like 30 levels in the whole campaign. So that's like
For the
what
campaign 10 times as one character.
basically, yeah, and the campaign's probably like 8 to 10 hours. So that's insane just for the one character to get a skin. I think that's really dumb. So I hope they make some tweaks to how you unlock them and stuff. Um, but yeah, I'm enjoying it for now. I don't know how long I'll stick with it based on, I was kind of bored replaying the first act. Like, how bored am I going to get replaying the others over time? And it does worry me a bit with how they're going to do DLC. I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. But honestly, I just don't see the game living that long after the launch, right? Like, I think Game Pass is really going to help it, especially at the price point it's at. I really don't think it should have been full price, let alone have, season pass, which is like $40. I think that's insane for a game like this. But I guess we'll just see how it turns out in the future. But for right now, it's a little bit worrying how the game's going to go. But I'm still enjoying it for the time being. But other than that, I think that's it. There was a lot I covered there, but I think that's it.
Yeah, I definitely won't be as long because I haven't played as much. But yeah, the main thing for like the last 2 weeks, I haven't played terribly much because I've just been getting adjusted to school, getting back there. But I did finish Kenna last weekend, so yeah, just a few days ago. That was pretty good. I really enjoyed the way the game ended and how many bosses there were towards the end. Charlie, you beaten Kenna, have you or no?
I haven't. I think I'm near the end. I think I'm in the last area. Like, I just unlocked the like dash thing where you dash through the portal door
Yeah,
type looking
you're
things.
like 2 hours away from the end.
Okay, yeah, I got to there and then I just kind of put it down. I think I got stuck on a bit and I just haven't gone back to it in over a week.
Yes, I really enjoyed Kenna. I like the puzzle solving. I love the gameplay is pretty fun. It has a lot more in-depth gameplay than I thought. Just seeing trailers for this game. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, and just the atmosphere, music, and everything was cool. Really impressive for like a first time game by Ember Labs. So yeah, I definitely really recommend it. Yeah, I just wish we got more games in those kind of like scope where it's not like trying to be 15, 20 hours. It's just like 10 hours, you get what you get, right? And it's a good experience and you leave. I miss that. That's what I loved about the PS3 generation. So that was nice to go back to that and finish that up. Besides that, it hasn't been terribly much. I played like 10 minutes of Tales of Arise because obviously that's the next game I'm going to go back to now. And then I played an hour and a half of Back for Blood this morning. It's cool. I mean, I'm replaying through Act 1, which is, like Charlie said, act that I played hours and hours of back in the beta and alpha at this point. But it's still satisfying. I will say it's still annoying to have the same issues that I've come across in the beta and alpha with like people leaving, and then the bots doing absolutely nothing, and having to reset runs because of that. Like, we're literally stuck near the end of Act 1 just because we can't seem to get players that will stay. Yeah, it's kind of annoying, and then it'll like trigger birds or something like that. It's just funny. But yeah, it's still very fun to play. The gun combat's really good. It's just really frustrating because we've gone back to Left 4 Dead in the meantime, and you go back to that game and they have like way better AI, and the game's like a decade old at this point. It's just crazy. Yeah, it still has issues for that sort of thing. So it's still good. I'm glad I got it on Game Pass. I didn't pay a full price for it. I've already owned Game Pass, so it's essentially free if you look at it that way for me. So yeah, but I'm enjoying that. Besides that, I haven't really touched anything else besides, the normal multiplayer games I play with friends. Demon Slayer does come out tomorrow. I'm debating on picking it up because you do get avatars if you pre-order it. But the game is going to be locked at 30, sadly, at launch because the 60 FPS patch is, apparently coming after, which is so dumb. But nonetheless, everything I've seen of that game looks really good. But yeah, I'm still on the fence about that. And then Metroid Dread, I'm also really on the fence. I tweeted out that I'm going to buy it, and I was planning on buying it, but I still haven't picked it up just because I'm obviously still going through Tales of Arise. And then there's like so many games I want to play right now. I'm just glad I beat Kenna. Yeah. I watched Squid Game, but there's nothing really to talk about there because obviously I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, for anyone wondering that has watched Squid Game, I have finished it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. That was a good use of my time last week. I'm definitely glad I watched that. Yeah, just a very interesting show. And then I guess that's pretty much it. We'll go into the releases this week, which there are a lot. We're like in the thick of it, kind of. And yeah, and then the gaming news in terms of that this week isn't the most, but we have some pretty cool news stories we'll talk about. So as Charlie said, Alan Wake Remastered did come out last week. Yeah, this is out on the PlayStation family of systems and then Xbox family of systems and PC. I believe it's like $40, so it's not full price. So
I think
definitely
it might be 30. I don't know. I know it's like £25 here, so it's probably like 30, 35.
That's a really good price for that game. Definitely recommend it. There's no excuse there, especially if you like Control. Like, they're not very similar, but it's still that kind of tone and feel where they do some weird shit with it. So definitely go check out Alan Wake. Far Cry 6. Yeah, what's up?
I will say as well with Alan Wake, like if you are into Control, there is some like stuff people have found in the remaster that isn't in the original. There's
okay.
like QR codes you can scan in the game that take you to like unlisted YouTube videos, which are like of Alan after Control. So there's like teasers for an Alan Wake 2. So if you're interested in Control and Alan Wake, definitely pick it up because it's gonna be probably quite important to whatever they do next. So
I love that sort of shit. That's cool. And then Far Cry 6 also came out last week. Far Cry 6, I swear, like, snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was coming out until the day it was out. But yeah, more Far Cry, essentially. That's what everything I've been hearing about. It's like, it's nothing new. It's just more Far Cry. If you liked what you played before Far Cry, you'll want to pick this up. And then if not, you can skip it. I'm not planning on picking it up, but cool to see it's out. Just the Far Shore, this has been an indie game we've seen ever since, like, the big PS5 June event that happened last year. Sadly, it looks like reviews aren't the best. Yeah, it's been criticized quite a bit, but that is finally out. So if you're interested in that, make sure to go check that out. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl has been interesting. This has been one I've been tempted to pick up, but I never really got into Super Smash Bros. So I kind of learned my lesson there, not to go into the fighting game genre, but still seeing Aang and like a bunch of other Avatar: The Last Airbender characters has been pretty cool. So that's out last week for the PlayStation family of systems, Xbox family of systems, Switch, and PC. Metroid Dread also came out last week. This has been highly reviewed. Like, I'm saying like 9 out of 10s. Yeah, it looks to be one of the better Metroid games. People are just praising it everywhere. I'm personally planning on picking it up soon. Hell, I might even pick it up today. Who knows? I've been on the fence back and forth about it. So, yeah, definitely interested in playing that. Looks really, really good. And then, yeah, the Battlefield 2042 beta. I guess I did forget to kind of give my thoughts on this, but I only really played like 20 minutes of it. But yeah, my thoughts are essentially the same as Charlie's. Like, I really like the Battlefield formula. It's nice. I think, Charlie, you kind of summed it up best when we were playing it. Like, it's essentially like Battlefield 5, but with like a modern setting. Like, it feels, it just plays exactly how you'd want it to play. And like the graphics look, very similar and stuff like that. And the scale, of course. It's nothing like next gen, but that being said, we haven't really seen the weather yet. At least I haven't seen the weather yet. So still waiting on that front, but yeah, it's pretty fun to play. Just the optimization needs to get improved. And then that brings us up to the releases this week. Back for Blood, as we talked about, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and then Demon Slayer, which is out tomorrow or yesterday if you're watching this the day the episode went live. So yeah, quite a stacked week and a half or so. Definitely a lot of releases there. So yeah, make sure to let us know what you're picking up in the comment section down below. I've definitely seen quite a bit of people playing a good, handful of some of those games. So yeah. Charlie, I think I'm going to start with the news story. I don't think we actually have here on the document, but I'm going to include it anyway. It's essentially more Bloodborne rumors. We talked about this, I want to say 2 weeks ago, but Colin Moriarty did kind of give some information on where what Bluepoint might be working on ever since we had that episode. So essentially, I think he tweeted out something like Bluepoint are going to be going back to Yharnam, and then on his Discord server essentially kind of clarified and said that the same source that told him that Insomniac was working on a Wolverine game is working on a Bloodborne Remaster, and they're also working on a Bloodborne 2, which would be fully by them, from scratch, not using like any materials from the first game, which is pretty interesting. So it looks like they're in their hands full with Bloodborne going forward. I think this makes sense given the fact that they're coming from Demon Souls, obviously. They have a lot of history there. They obviously really like the game, right? And Bloodborne's been... I feel like Bloodborne fits the book just because a lot of fans have been constantly asking for like a remaster, and Bluepoint are kind of always the best at that. I also think that a remaster is a good idea because it doesn't really need a remake. Bloodborne still holds up pretty fine. I think a lot of the complaints are really just the 60 FPS, right? Like, sure, they can also improve the visuals to just bump it up to 4K and stuff like that, but it doesn't need a big overhaul, really. It still plays fairly good, so I think a remaster makes a lot of sense. And then a Bloodborne 2, this one's a little bit more iffy, obviously, because they're working on like an original game that's not going to be from software. But I'm honestly happy with it. Like, I want to see their take on a Bloodborne 2. I am a big fan of Bloodborne, so it is kind of like hesitant to have such a studio like that touch it instead of from software, but I don't know. I just feel like I want to see what will happen with it. Like, I want to see Bluepoint do an original game that has to do with something that's not like a remake, So especially the fact that they've worked on the Demon Souls remake. I feel like they know a lot about how those levels work and why they work and the ultimate game design choices there. So I want to see their hands out of Bloodborne 2 and what that could look like. Yeah, Charlie, what is your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I remember, like, as soon as you started talking about it, I remember seeing this stuff on Twitter. I think it was in like I think he was responding to a thread on like Reset Era or something, and someone like screenshotted it. I like you said, I think it's a logical step, right? They worked on Demon Souls. They were clearly very passionate and really like the FromSoft games. I think Bloodborne is the easiest way to go. PlayStation own the IP rather than FromSoft, so you don't need permission necessarily to get that stuff done. It's also one that people have asked for, right? Like just having a patch. But I think having like a remaster at least, but potentially even like a Demon Souls style remake where they revamp some of the stuff, maybe add in a few of their own ideas here and there, especially if they're going into a full-on sequel where it'd be from the ground up, which also lines up with what they said, right? Like they're working on something completely original, but they didn't necessarily say it was a new IP. Like it could have been existing IP. So I think it definitely makes sense that this would be where they'd go with it. And obviously people have asked for a Bloodborne sequel for years, and if FromSoft are busy with Elden Ring, and then they've probably already got like another project in the works after that, I'm sure they don't have time to do stuff like Bloodborne 2, and it's something PlayStation have probably wanted to do for a while, I imagine. It's just the cards have never like aligned, or I don't know how you'd say it, but it's obviously never come to fruition. I think this is the best way to get it done, so I'm definitely excited to see how this goes. I think it would make sense, we'd see something from this next year, right? Like I imagine a Bloodborne, if it's a remaster, isn't going to take them too long. I just think they'll probably want to announce them at the same time, would be my guess. If I was them, I'd be like, here's Bloodborne 2. Oh, and by the way, we're working on a remaster or remake, and it's out, later this year, so you can play it before the sequel. I would imagine they announce them at the same time. That would be my guess, but who knows?
Yeah, I definitely could see that. They did say in their like acquisition article that they're going to talk about their next project in the months to come. I'm always hesitant to believing that sort of thing because I feel like months turns into years quite easily. But still very exciting if that is, still the plan. But yeah, I would love to see that. Just the fact that they'd be working on a Bloodborne remaster of all things, like I desperately want to play that in 60 FPS, and it just sucks because I'm currently in the midst of. I mean, I pretty much replayed Bloodborne entirely with Zach over the summer. But now we're gonna be going through the DLC, and it's just gonna be annoying that probably the remaster is gonna get announced soon here, and it's gonna be like great. Yeah, fuck it, I'll play it again. But yeah, definitely really cool. Anyway, speaking of remasters, the GTA trilogy that we've been talking about on the podcast for quite a bit of time now was officially confirmed last week by Rockstar. They essentially just tweeted out like a 20-second video clip of the old like Vice City theme, and just getting people nostalgic, right? And then I think they accompanied this with like a small article just saying that hey, these things do exist. We're working on a definitive edition for all three games. We're gonna give you more details in the coming weeks. It's essentially gonna like bump up the game moderately to what you can expect modernly now with games. And yeah, we're gonna hear more soon. They kind of had to announce this because this was like on the cusp of like a lot of leaks coming out from like their own, I think, Rockstar launcher as well. Just like a bunch of icons and achievements were getting leaked. This was like the worst known secret almost at one point, so they kind of had to just confirm it. I still really want to see footage of it, just because that's the only like one area they can really impress me on, really, besides maybe the controls. Yeah, everything we've heard about, like I'm gonna keep my expectations low, especially if they're bundling this for like 70 or 60. That would be like what, $20 per remaster, so it probably isn't anything like too impressive. But I'm still hoping that they do come through and it looks a lot better and excites me than what I'm like currently envisioning in my head. So yeah, that would be out for PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and PC. Switch is another thing, if it is coming to Switch, maybe it's not like the most graphically impressive, right? But yeah, still
Considering
very
it is
exciting.
coming to mobile next year as well, so
That is
that's
true.
something to take into account.
I just really hope it's not like an HD port. Like I really hope like the graphics still look decent, like, and it's a decent remaster that's worth buying. But yeah, Charlie, what is your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I will say first of all, knowing our luck, right? We'll record this podcast, and then tomorrow they'll show off some footage. So
Yeah.
I'm just putting that out there. You may have seen footage by the time you watch this podcast. That's usually how these things go. But no, like I'm glad they finally revealed it. Like you said, I think it's one of the worst kept secrets right now. I think soon after they announced it, like the date leaked. I think it's like what 7th of November or something like that.
That's soon.
And then if and then a physical edition in December, I want to say. So yeah, it's coming out relatively soon. There's been so many like contradictory leaks about what it's actually going to be like. I still don't think it's going to be anything crazy. I think it'll just be an HD port, higher resolution, higher frame rate, maybe some slightly better controls, that kind of thing. But I don't expect like a crazy overhaul. I feel like this is going to be more of a port situation, which will be obviously better than what we've had in the past, because on PlayStation specifically, we've only had the like PS2 emulated versions, so nothing crazy, just like trophy support. So yeah, I'll probably pick it up. I do think it's interesting that there was a ton of leaks about the price. There was a load of leaks that it's going to be $70, which some people are now saying it seems like maybe Rockstar themselves leaked it, just to kind of gauge how people think that price is. I think most people are like, yeah, that's way too much. I would agree. For three games that came out 15 years ago at this point, like they should not it shouldn't cost that much for three games. I think that's crazy. I think at most you can charge 60, and even then I think it's a push. I think you more want to be pricing this at sort of 50. I think then that's a bit more justified. So I wouldn't be surprised if they leaked it themselves just to see if people would be okay with it. But I think most of the reaction online has been pretty negative about the price, so hopefully that means at least with the digital version, it's not that much. Maybe the physical, and they bundle in some cool maps or whatever. But yeah, no, I'm still excited to give it a go. I haven't played GTA 3 at all. I've played a bit of Vice City, and I've beaten San Andreas way back when. So it'll be nice to go back to those games. I just hope there's a little bit more to them than I expect, but I'm going in pretty low, to be honest.
Yes, likewise. Yeah, you kind of hit it nail on. Probably there's gonna be like footage tomorrow or something. So by the time you're watching this, you probably know all this information. But yeah, November 7th, that would be a really cool date. I definitely agree. $70 is crazy expensive. That's like PS5 pricing for like, remasters of 3 PS2 games. So they better look really good if they're gonna charge that much. Or yeah, that's crazy. But it's Rockstar, right? They know they can get so much money out. Hell, the GTA 5 remasters coming to PS5 are probably gonna be 60, 70, knowing them. So we'll see. Anyways, another news story that came out last week that was pretty cool is the fact that Eidos Montreal is also moving to a 4-day work week. This is like coming off of the news that Young Horses made the switch, that were the developers of Bugsnax. For Eidos Montreal's case, it actually kind of makes a lot of sense. For people that don't know, in Montreal, there's like high competition for, getting developers. There's like constantly, it's like very competitive for companies in order to recruit from there. So this seems like it was a move just, obviously to make Eidos Montreal look a lot more favorable to developers, which no doubt that will. Like 4 days a week is crazy. I would definitely do that if I was a developer in Montreal. Just the life to work balance would be a lot better. But yeah, that's very cool. Jason Schreier kind of also tweeted about it, saying that, this could be something that changes, Montreal in general, because obviously, you're going to want to compete with that. And then who knows, that could eventually make its way to affecting other industries or other companies here in the gaming industry. But that's still a very big start. That's probably the first big AAA one that we've seen go to a 4-day work week. So yeah, Charlie, what'd you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's great that we're seeing more of this. I also think that this is going to mean that Square Enix are probably going to start rolling this out in more of their companies, right? Because you would have to imagine that this wasn't just Eidos Montreal coming up with this decision. It would have been sort of a larger company-wide discussion. So I wouldn't be surprised if, within the next few months, if they see that it's working well for Eidos Montreal, they're saving costs, but yet still producing a similar amount of work. I wouldn't be surprised if you see them, adopt this at Crystal Dynamics or some of their like Japanese studios. But yeah, I think it makes sense, like you said about the whole Montreal thing. It is very competitive there with the amount of different studios over there. So yeah, it's just cool to see that more companies are taking this on.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of, Montreal, and I guess Ubisoft is there. Ghost Recon Frontline was announced. This is a free-to-play battle royale. Yeah, this was also they had like a closed test that was delayed from this week. I think they just said TBA, right, for the time being.
Yeah.
But yeah, this wasn't a battle royale that we've heard about before, was it? It's not one of those projects that was like a full new project.
It was like a
right?
really weird drop. It was like the X Defiant thing. They just kind of announced it. I think the reaction has been really negative. Who would have thought?
Why.
It's another Tom Clancy game that's nothing like Tom Clancy. I totally get it, but if the developers want to make a shooter, sure, go ahead. I just don't think it will succeed. That's my problem. Like, I saw the gameplay and I was like, sure, it looks like it could be interesting. But it's just, there's too many games like this now. It's trying to differentiate itself. It's not necessarily Battle Royale. It's more like Tarkov or Hunt. But I mean, we'll see in the news from this week, there's another game doing something like that. So there's just a ton of games doing this kind of thing now. There's just not enough room, I don't think. Especially, there's not enough time that people have to dedicate to all these different games, right? Like, they all have their own battle passes you have to grind for and things like that. And people just don't have time to split between all these games. So I'd love to see more of these games succeed. But as soon as I see them announced, like X Defiant, I just go, yeah, I don't see this lasting. Who knows? Maybe it'll take off and it'll be a massive success. I think if they wanted to do really well, they would pivot towards like a PUBG type thing. There's not really any battle royale shooters out there right now that really do what PUBG did, in my opinion. Like, PUBG was very different in its space. I think if they could capture a more sort of realistic and tactical battle royale, because there isn't really that out there right now. It's all very fast paced, and sort of like high time to kill and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll stay tuned on it. But especially with like the closed test getting delayed, that says to me that they saw everyone hating on it and were like, yeah, we need to we need to make some changes to this before we let people play it. So yeah, it was a weird one, but we'll see, I guess.
I actually haven't seen any. I don't know if they dropped footage for it, but I haven't seen anything on that. So I definitely
Yeah,
need to go.
they did like a
Yeah.
CG trailer and then showed off like a little bit of gameplay snippets in like some behind the scenes video.
Yeah. I'll say based on like the snippet here, it sounds very generic.
Yeah.
Ubisoft is probably the company right now where I'm like not caring about a lot of the releases really. Like I think the only one I care about right now is Mario Rabbids 2, which should say something. Thank God that exists, because that's
Maybe
the only
Riders
thing.
Republic, but you know.
Yeah, Riders Republic was fun. I'm not sure if that's a game I want to spend $60 on, because like
Hmm.
even though I did play that beta and I very much enjoyed my time with it, it's something where I'd be like very sad if I didn't play it ever again. I don't know. It was fun though. But yeah, yeah. Hopefully Ubisoft can figure something out. Give us a Splinter Cell game. Come on. Maybe they need to do a Mario collaboration with Splinter Cell to make it feasible. Jeez, thank God we have Mario Rabbids coming, because that's like an actual single player game. Like, when's the last time they've done a single player game that didn't exceed like 20 hours or 30 hours? Man, it's crazy. Anyways, we'll move on to Super Smash Bros. Super Smash Bros. Finally got its last character announced, and they went out with a bang. Yeah, this has been one that a lot of fans have been waiting for ages. I've seen every single time Smash announces a new character that's DLC, Sora always is trending afterwards because people are mad it's not Sora. And finally, they ended off with Sora from Kingdom Hearts. So yeah, this was long overdue. Sora totally fits. He definitely fits the bill for Super Smash Bros. So I think this is honestly probably the perfect get. Like I would have personally loved like Crash or someone like that, but Sora I'm not mad about at all. Sora is definitely a great character. Probably makes even more sense than Crash. So it definitely is nice. I'm happy for a lot of fans there, because that would have been really messed up if they went through all of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and it wasn't Sora, and Sora never came, right? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. This is the last character, so like, is Sakurai retiring now? Because like, surely he's getting there in age, and every single like direct you see of him, his eye bags get like bigger and bigger. Like man, I don't want to like, you can't top Ultimate, so I kind of just want him to retire now. Like there's no way they're gonna top Ultimate. But yeah, it's crazy. What'd you think about that, Charlie?
I thought it was cool. Personally, I was kind of on it. I'm not a big Kingdom Hearts fan. Sora is also a character I wasn't like pining to have in Smash, mainly because he's a sword character, and I want to say 75% of Smash's roster at this point are sword based, and I just wanted something different. We got, especially in the DLC, we got a ton of characters that were sword based. So I'm happy for all the people that wanted him. Right, Sakurai said in the like Smash Direct that they weren't allowed to reveal the results back in the day when they did a like fan poll for Smash 4 for a DLC character, mainly because of like licensing issues and stuff. But back then, apparently Sora was like the top voted character. It just never panned out back then. So it's cool that they were able to get him in. I think it sucks that it is just Sora. There's no connection to Disney at all. I get why, right? Like it's obviously a Square Enix thing, not a Disney thing. The deal, but it's a shame that there's no like Disney characters showing up in like his final Smash or some of his moves and stuff. I think that would have been really cool. But I totally get why it's not there. The biggest smack in the face for me was they normally with these announcements, right? They start it off with a CG trailer and show off the new character, and then they do all like the Mii costumes, because it was the last one. They started with the Mii costumes and then went to the new character. And the first Mii costume they show is Doomslayer, and Doomslayer is the character I've wanted since Doom Eternal got announced, really. And there were rumors that it may happen, and I was like, please have him in the game, because he's such a like cool character to have in a game like that. He's got such a wide moveset that he would be really cool for a fighting game, especially with like Doom Eternal, where he's got like the meat hook and he could grapple. Like I can picture it, like it's almost perfect for something like Smash, because they've already got characters that kind of like a grapple. So I could see him swinging around the stage and using all these different guns and stuff. And at one point, I was almost certain he was going to be in the game, and it didn't happen. And now he's a Mii fighter costume, and I'm just like, you had to do it to me. But whatever, you can't have everything. So I'm glad people are happy with Sora, but I would have liked Doomslayer or Crash. Crash was another one I wanted, but I didn't think he would happen at this point. I thought if he was gonna happen, he would have happened already. So,
Yeah.
but I thought there was still a chance for Doomslayer. But what a shame.
I always like think of like how they'd look on the roster because like all the characters kind of feel like they'd fit in Smash that have been announced so far. Like even like Snake and stuff like that. At first it feels off, but like they all kind of generally feel like that. And like Sora and Crash, like the two I felt like would have fit.
Yeah.
So between those two, and I'm glad Sora was picked just for the fans because I know they've been waiting for ages for that shit. So it's nice to see that work out. Anyways, we'll end on for like last week's segment. We'll end on another news story that has to do with another PlayStation game. This came from an Irish musician. There was like some like random article that came out last week about like an interview with this musician, and she claims that she started recording music for a big PlayStation remake, which apparently the announcement's supposed to happen in December. Apparently she was contracted like around the time that COVID first hit, around that first time of the pandemic. So yeah, people have been thinking about what PlayStation remake could this possibly be. Could it be Metal Gear Solid, of course, is always the first one that you see, which, I don't know about that. It could be, I don't know, like Irish obviously is a very specific type of music, so obviously that eliminates things like Bloodborne and anything like that,
Hey,
obviously.
maybe they're adding some Irish song
Original
into
content. Oh man. I don't know, like, could you think of a PlayStation remake that would utilize?
I saw people like going like full on like conspiracy theory, and they were just like, "There's a song in Metal Gear Solid 1 that's like got some Irish lyrics," and I was like, "Are you serious? Is this how far we're going to try and make this real?" At this point, I don't think that remake's gonna happen purely because of the whole Metal Gear Solid 3 remake.
Yeah, right, that's my thought process, yeah.
Which is basically confirmed at this point by one of the guys working on it, right? From Virtuos. Like, yeah. I think they said that
it's a AAA remake.
We're working on it. Yeah. So it's basically confirmed. So yeah, I don't think it would be that. I just don't know what it would be. It's a weird one.
They also said December, which makes me think that PSX is coming back, but who knows? Like, I feel like that would have been announced by now.
I still think it's just going to be a Game Awards thing.
Okay.
I think over time, PlayStation and Xbox as well, but PlayStation have slowly started to show more stuff at Game Awards each year. And even just with Jeff's shows, right? Like, they obviously announced the date for Horizon Forbidden West at
Remember when we
Gamescom?
Used to get every Naughty Dog game announced at the Game Awards?
Yeah. Well, back when it was like the Spike VGAs, right?
Yeah.
Way back when. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it showed up. I think that would make the most sense because I think if PSX does come back, I feel like we would have heard something, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like there would have been some kind of hint that it may happen, but I'm not sure. I mean, they did trademark it again, right? So they're keeping hold of that name. Whether they do anything with it, who knows? But I have no idea what it would be though. What the remake would be.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for words on what that could be and who could be working on it. Because if Bluepoint's working on a remake for or a remaster for I can't talk, Bloodborne, then like I'm a loss for words for what it could be. It could always be one of those weird PS1, PS2 games that you always hear people talk about, like Legend of Dragoon. I just have no idea what that is. Well, I've seen like footage of it, but like obviously that was before my time. So maybe it's something like that, which would be really cool to see. But yeah, that's exciting. Hopefully we'll see it either at the Game Awards or some December PlayStation event. If that does happen, we'll keep you updated. Anyways, that takes us to this week. So yeah, going on this week, DC Fandome is happening just a few days from now. It's actually happening today if you're watching this that day that episode just went live. So obviously we're expecting more information on Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. It's not gaming related, but also the Batman. I know a lot of people are looking for that. So yeah, should be a really, really cool weekend. I'm personally looking forward to seeing both of those games, especially Suicide Squad. I want to see how that plays. I don't know if we'll get, gameplay of it, but I hope. They've been kind of already giving us like posters and stuff online, so I'm hoping that we'll get some big slice of it, especially since I just watched the Suicide Squad movie back in August. I'm almost like ready now to see what this game looks like, and hopefully it's good. Rocksteady, like I was talking about this like a few weeks on the Discord ago. It's been like we got Arkham Knight in 2015. It's been like over 6 years since we got like a full game from them, which is crazy. Like, that's wild. That's like unheard of. So I really want to see Rocksteady's new game a lot more. I know you're looking forward to probably both of these, right, Charlie?
Yeah, for sure. I'm more excited for Gotham Knights, right? Like that's just more my thing. Suicide Squad, I'm not like I enjoyed the new film and stuff, but I'm not a massive fan of the group. So, I'm more interested in that purely because it's to do with the Arkhamverse, which I think is weird because the amount of people online that are like, "Oh yeah, Gotham Knights is a sequel to Arkham Knight, right?" And then Suicide Squad's something new, and it's the other way around. Like it's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing both. I think Suicide Squad we definitely get gameplay. I think it would be odd if we just got another
If
trailer
we
and that
don't,
was
that'd be
it.
so stupid. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be similar to what we got with Gotham Knights last year, right? Where we get a trailer and then like a good sort of 10-minute demo, and potentially them talking more about the plot. They've been teasing both these games a lot on Twitter, especially Suicide Squad. They've got this like phone number you can call, and you get like voicemails from like Amanda Waller about different supervillains and stuff. So, they're definitely trying to get people excited about it. Gotham Knights, they've been doing a lot of teasing for the Court of Owls, so I definitely think we're going to see
Can't wait.
a trailer revolving mainly around them and more of the overall plot, because they haven't detailed too much about what the main, goal of the game is. So I'm excited to see more of that. I do think we'll get a release date, just because the release date did leak a few weeks back. It kind of blew under the radar.
What was it?
I believe it was like the 28th of April. It was like a very specific date in April. I can't remember what it was, but it was on GameStop. I don't know what country, but it was on one of the GameStop websites. I think Suicide Squad did go up as well, but that was like December 31st, right? It was just a generic date.
Yeah.
Whereas Gotham Knights had a very specific date, so it seemed like that was more of a leaked one that shouldn't have gone up yet. Especially because that was meant to come out this year, so I'd expect it sort of spring to summertime. And I imagine they want to try and avoid that February March window because that's going to be so packed. I would love to get it in my hands as soon as possible, right? Like I would have loved it to be super early in the year, but April seems likely. But I think we see a decent chunk of both of these, and hopefully Suicide Squad is still next year. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that gets pushed back.
Bro, if that's 2023, I'm gonna be depressed. That's almost like a decade since their last game. Holy shit.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised, mainly just because obviously Gotham Knights got delayed. I always thought Suicide Squad would be end of 2022 anyway. So yeah, if we got midway through the year or even to this reveal and the end of the trailer it says 2023, it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I'm looking forward to both, and then obviously everything else that's there, non-game related. The Batman is obviously the biggest thing, right? That's coming out in like March, I think, next year. You depressed me the other week when you sent me that thing saying about the move date. It was like what, October 5th or something.
It's supposed to be up on
to come out, and I was like, bro, we could have been watching it right now. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then I think like the Peacemaker show should be pretty cool because that's out in like a couple months. And a few other things here and there.
But,
yeah, I'm looking forward to DC Fandome. It was a pretty good event last year, so I'm hoping it's going to be just as good this year.
Yeah, same. Anyways, you can introduce this next topic since I haven't really heard much about this.
Yeah, so I mean, do you want me to just go over like the next two? I guess.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's probably best, yeah. So first of these is to do with Battlefield. So the new mode that had been teased a little bit, Hazard Zone, did get like fully revealed today. I say fully revealed. They still haven't shown gameplay because it's Battlefield, and apparently they just refuse to show gameplay now. But they showed off like a CG trailer, showing off the mode. It's basically a Tarkov and like Hunt Showdown style mode. It's a PvPvE mode. Where basically you're going in with a squad of players, you all pick different specialists, and you're basically exploring the map trying to find these like crashed satellites which have these drives that you're trying to extract with. There's other players on the map obviously, and then there's AI enemies as well that are wandering around sort of defending the points. There isn't like its own map. It's not like a battle royale map. I believe it's 32 players. Or I don't know if they confirmed that, but that was the rumor, is that it's 32 players, and I think it's like 24 on last gen. And it's on the basic all-out warfare map, so Orbital that we played in the beta, and then the other 6 maps, there isn't a specific one for this mode. The reason it's a lot less players is just because obviously it's not like a big mode where they want you to be fighting players all the time. They want to treat fighting players as like a a big thing, right? Like you're not going to come across people all the time, which I think is probably best for a mode like that. So I think it's a shame they've confirmed it's not going to be free to play. There were a lot of rumors earlier in the year that this mode was going to be free, because it may evolve into a battle royale. Because there's been loads of rumors this past week that 2042 originally started as a battle royale and then evolved into a more normal Battlefield game. So there was a lot of rumors it was going to be free. I think it might hurt the mode a bit if it's not. Especially after, BF5, right, with Firestorm. That mode wasn't free, and then it completely flopped because of it, because Battlefield 5 didn't sell, compared to the other games, right? So I would like to see it become free to play and sort of morph more into a battle royale, but I don't know what their plan is for it. Maybe they have plans to make it free eventually, but for right now at launch it is going to be only you have to buy Battlefield and you get this mode included. So we'll see. It looked interesting, but we didn't get any real gameplay with it. It was just a CG trailer. I don't know what you think about the mode, Brand. Obviously, I don't know. You haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, I think it's disappointing. It's going to be just using the multiplayer map, so it's going to probably just be like some... I don't know. I don't think it'll be tacked on, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be like a big focus, at least. I don't know. It's like one of the big three pillars, but yeah, we'll see. It's one of those you kind of have to play and see how it feels, but yeah, you can go on to the next story.
Yeah, and then the next thing, which was also revealed today at the exact same time as well, which is really weird, was the zombies mode for Vanguard. Obviously, we knew Treyarch were going to be coming back to do this mode, but they kind of talked more about what their plan is for the day one content and then sort of post-launch with zombies. There isn't going to be like a traditional map at launch, which I think disappointed a lot of the fan base. There were rumors beforehand that it wasn't going to, but... basically how it's going to work is it'll be using I don't know if it's all of the maps from multiplayer, but most of the maps. They'll be making some changes to them, making them look more zombies-esque, right? And that's where this new mode is going to take place, where they're going to use features from Outbreak, from Cold War, where you could teleport between locations, and you had objectives that you complete. They're kind of morphing that into the more traditional sort of round-based zombies, which I think is a really good idea. I personally really enjoyed Outbreak. I played a lot of it, and I thought it did change up a lot of the round-based stuff, which is still enjoyable, but it isn't... it's not as enjoyable as it once was. We've had a lot of games with that stuff, so I think it's good that they're trying to change things up a bit. Obviously, it's got the World War II setting, so it's not continuing the story of the last game, but it's set in the same like canon and stuff. So it's going to be exploring the lore of Cold War if people were into that. I really liked what they did with the story, so I'm super interested in what's going to happen there. And I imagine it'll have pretty big repercussions for whenever they go back to the Cold War storyline. But other than that, it's sort of your typical zombies. It's obviously going to be running on the Modern Warfare engine, so it'd be interesting to see how that differentiates from the old sort of zombies content. But it's going to have basically all the features it had in the last game, so I'm super looking forward to it. I think it's a bit disappointing there isn't a dedicated map on day one, but I think you'll get one, season 1, season 2. It's not ready for launch. Obviously, Treyarch have been working on Cold War since launch and making maps for zombies in that, with one coming out literally 2 weeks ago. So obviously they haven't had all hands on deck for this new zombies mode. So I'm definitely excited to give it a go. I'll be picking up Vanguard mainly for this, but also the multiplayer. So I'm definitely excited to give it a go. After Cold War and stuff, I'm pretty positive on zombies at the moment. So yeah.
Nice. I'll have to look up both of those after this. That definitely sounds interesting. It does suck there's not gonna be a map, but I definitely liked what Outbreak did, where they transported you between different maps, right? So if they could do that with like modified multiplayer maps, I definitely think they could make the best of that. So that's cool. Another news story is Vanguard and Warzone are apparently going to receive kernel level anti-cheats called Ricochet? Or Ricochet?
Ricochet, yeah.
Yeah, Ricochet with season 1. So this is similar to what happened with Valorant. I think that's with Valorant, right? And Riot's.
Yeah. Riot's Vanguard stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense. I think Riot's level is pretty good, where they can get a lot more data in terms of what people are doing on their PCs, and I don't think it's like as invasive. I know there's some like rumors out, Valorant was like invading like privacy at launch, but I think they like fix that sort of thing. So as far as I'm aware, I think it should be pretty good. But you probably know more about this than I do. So do you know
Yeah,
what like the fan reception is?
they haven't said a ton, but I mean, I think people are a bit more like they're not as worried about this stuff now because of how Vanguard was treated. Right? They kind of stepped back a lot when there was a lot of backlash towards the Vanguard anti-cheat. They have said like this will obviously be there. Like the idea is it's on the OS level of your PC. So the idea is that as soon as you switch on your PC, this is there with it, so that you're not able to boot any hacks or cheats like that before you open the game because it just won't let you. But they have said that it's not going to be enabled unless you're playing the game the way it works. I don't know how these things work. It's really weird stuff. I'm not brainy enough for it.
Yeah.
But they've been trying to reassure people with like it'll only be on when you're doing Call of Duty stuff. It'll only be using data that's to do with Call of Duty. But who knows? They could be getting all sorts of stuff. But I'm glad it's getting proper anti-cheat. Warzone's had a terrible problem with hackers since day one.
Yeah.
I know Raven have done a pretty decent job of banning a lot of people as of late. But the problem is with that stuff is it's very easy for people to just make a new account and download the game again. I know they have been doing more hardware-based bans so that if you try and boot up the game from the same PC on a different account, it will recognize it, to the point where people, when they were playing the Vanguard beta, were banned because they were banned on Warzone, which I think is great. That's crossing over with all that stuff. So I think the idea that it's getting anti-cheat is really good because kernel level stuff does work. I don't think I've ever seen a cheater in Valorant. I played that game a lot, and I don't think I ever saw one. And I never see people posting about them online, so clearly it works.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the way to go.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So yeah, that's definitely good to see. I know for Warzone especially, that's going to be really useful. So that's cool to see. Anyway, a pretty huge story came out with EA last week, or I guess earlier this week. Apparently they want to change the name. So yeah, FIFA reportedly wants to charge EA $1 billion for every 4 years of the use of the title of FIFA, obviously, in this game. So EA, obviously, as any company would want, they want to try to, get around that cost. So it looks like they're trying to change the name. I don't know what name would suit that. People are making memes online. They're going to call it like eFootball, something, similar to what their competitors are. It's a shitty situation for them because FIFA is kind of like iconic, right? Like I imagine that's going to hurt sales if they can't have FIFA on it. But at the same time, they would also be losing $1 billion every 4 years if they decide to keep it. So, yeah, that's pretty huge. That will be pretty big because, yeah, that's wild. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I get it, right? Like FIFA clearly have seen the amount of money that EA make and have got in the past because they renew it every 10 years, similar to the Star Wars deal, right? So they've obviously gone, hey, we were worth $1 billion for 10 years back in like 2011, 2012. But we want like 2.8 billion now for the next 10 years. Is that all right? And they're like, we could probably pay that much, but I also don't want to. So, it's I get it from both sides. I think it's really scummy on FIFA's end, but I think it would also be really dumb of EA to not do it. The FIFA name carries a lot with it, especially in the UK. Like, I feel like everyone knows what FIFA is. Like, you don't have, like, because it isn't just the game, right? FIFA is basically football.
Yeah.
So I think if you don't have that name, you're suddenly at a massive disadvantage. Especially, like, even with PES. Like, I know tons of people that know the name PES, but who knows the name eFootball or whatever it's called now? Like, nobody knows that name. Like, it's a terrible name. Why would you change it after, 20, 25 years? Same thing with FIFA. It's got to be sort of 25, 26 years or something at this point that they've been using that name. It's like, that would be dumb to get rid of that name. And I'm sure it'd still do absolutely fine without the name. But I imagine it would definitely hurt sales not having it. I do know there was worry at first that it might mean that a lot of the content goes, but they've already said that this deal is literally just the name. They would still keep the licenses to all the different like Premier Leagues and that kind of thing. So all the different cups and leagues across the country and that kind of thing. It would literally just be the name on the box wouldn't be FIFA, and apparently this wouldn't affect like the World Cup games or something. Like they would still be called FIFA World Cup or something. I don't know. It's really weird. But yeah, I don't know what they call it instead. I imagine it would be like EA Sports soccer or like football club or football league. I don't know what they'd call it.
Either way, it's gonna like dramatically hurt because no one's gonna be like, "Hey, you picking up EA Sports Football League 22?"
Yeah. Like yeah, I don't know. Like FIFA's just such a household name. I don't know if you risk getting rid of that. But it depends how hungry EA are for money, right? I'm sure they're thinking long and hard about it, so we'll see. I can just picture Andrew Wilson sat at his desk just sweating right now. He's just ready to transfer the money as we speak. He's just hovering across the button. He's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But we'll
Confirm or deny, yeah. Anyways, you can talk about these last two stories because I have no idea about any of them.
Yeah, so I guess the first one is it's kind of random, like we don't really know what it's gonna lead to, but Disney announced earlier in the week that they're doing this basically countdown thing every week for the rest of the year. They're gonna have some kind of announcement to do with Star Wars. I think this week it was just something simple, like here's some new toys and stuff, but basically they have like a little kind of cartoony looking image to show the kind of thing that's going to be each week, right? So they've got like toys and Mandalorian stuff and Ahsoka stuff and that kind of thing. But on one of the weeks in December, I believe it's like the 15th of December, they have like a game controller icon, and they've said it's going to be some kind of new game reveal. Nobody knows what it is. It could be a whole number of things, and it could be something really crap. Like it could just be a new mobile game. I feel like it's going to be something really crap. But I'm hoping it's going to be something a bit more major, right?
It's either something by Respawn or it's something that's made for a mobile device.
Yeah, the only thing I think it could maybe be that would be cool would be like a release date for Lego Star Wars. That's the only thing that springs to mind that I think it could be. I don't think it's going to be Jedi Fallen Order 2 because why would
wouldn't announce that? Yeah.
Why would EA give that up? Like they would announce that at their own thing. I don't think it will be the Ubisoft thing. It's way too early, and I don't think they'll be announcing anything else Star Wars related that's coming out after the Ubisoft thing, right? So, I feel like it's got to be something already announced or some crap mobile game that nobody wants. But it could also be something to do with that weird Star Wars Hunters game that's like mobile and Switch that recently got delayed to like next year. I wouldn't be surprised if it's that. I hope it's something cool, but it's probably not going to be. So don't get your hopes up, people. That's all I'll say.
And then what's this last story with Venom?
And then the last story is one I saw when we were putting the dot together today. Nobody really knows what it is, but basically somehow people found an unlisted video on YouTube on one of the PlayStation accounts called Venom Let There Be Carnage Platinum. And it is a video of Andy Serkis, who is best known for playing like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. He's also the director of the new Venom film, basically congratulating you on getting a platinum. But nobody knows what the platinum is. But he mentions, yeah, I'm the director of Venom. It has footage of Venom Let There Be Carnage in the background. So people are like, what is this for? Because he doesn't mention what game he's saying congratulations for. He's like, yeah, congrats on a platinum. It's a big achievement. And then it just ends. And you're like, okay. So people are like, is this a new game? Is it for an update for an existing game? Like, are you going to, if you were to get like the Miles Morales platinum, like now, are you going to get sent an email with this thing? Like, it's so random. Like, it's got to be Spider-Man related, right? Like, it's Sony. Sony published this film or have made this film. They they make PlayStation, and they obviously publish the Spider-Man games. So that would be my logical thought, is that if you get the platinum now, you get this weird video / like promotion for a film that nobody wants to see. So I don't know, like, it's a really weird one. I saw some news stories about it today, and everyone's just very confused.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it's anything that crazy. People are like, maybe this was made for a Venom
Spider-Man.
tie-in game, and it just never happened. But I doubt it.
Bruh.
It's obviously something really dumb. Um, but it's such a weird thing, and I don't understand how people found it because it's unlisted. Like, who had this link? Like,
No
it's
idea.
so weird.
I'm
I don't know
saying,
where it originated, but yeah, go watch the video. It's very weird. It's just yeah. But who knows what it means? It could mean anything, but I think it's gonna be something really dumb,
It's probably something
like
stupid, and just a
Spider-Man.
tie-in email thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because obviously PlayStation have done it in the past with like Horizon and Spider-Man, where like you platinum them and you get like an avatar or whatever, or like a
Yeah.
theme.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like that. It's just weird that it's happening now, and there's no games out that it would make sense for like new releases,
I'm
right?
like, why would
So
they get Andy Serkis of all people to congratulate you for getting the
yeah,
platinum?
why wouldn't it be like
what?
Tom Hardy or something, like
Yeah,
playing
that's
Venom?
that's bizarre. That's very bizarre.
Yeah.
But anyways, that takes us up to all the gaming news. So yeah, that was a really cool episode. Yeah, thank you for watching, making it all the way here until the end. Of course, we'll be here for next week for episode 45, which hopefully should also have some really cool gaming news. And yeah, just thank you, of course, as always. Thanks, Charlie, for sticking around. And yeah, we'll see you next week for episode 45. Take care.
See you later.